So it's Tuesday, the 18th of June. And yesterday I went out to Tramore, brought my wife and my daughter out to Tramore, and there's a certain individual now purposely putting himself under my nose time and time again every time I go out to Tramore, clearly obviously following that track around my car. I spoke in previous videos about Dr. Anne Carey, how there was an issue there with a relative of mine where there was allegations of sexual inappropriate contact with a minor and the daughter of a HSE employee, and the correct protocol regarding that whole situation wasn't followed correctly, and it was covered up by Dr. Anne Carey. Now, I've been speaking about Dr. Anne Carey kind of because I got lured into an actual cult with this person, myself, my ex and my kids, and I know this all sounds crazy, and over the next kind of couple of weeks I will prove it. Well, next couple of days I start talking about this. This woman is a psychologist employed by Waterford Tussle. They were using the HSE to push this kind of Baha'i faith shite. It's basically a cult. I was in there for almost a year. I left after they tried to lock us in a school down Kilkenny. I'll speak about all of this over a couple of weeks, and you can make your own minds up. I'm not trying to sway anyone's opinion. You can make your own minds up. I'll put the information out there and you can make your own minds up. But her husband was my psychology teacher, and he was using the class to kind of lure people into this religion. And his wife, as I said, is a psychologist employed by Waterford Tussle. I just want to show this briefly. Look, there's the Baha'i faith, there's the logo. Now my ex has this tattoo on her wrist because she's still in it. And there's the HSE, look, promoting this stuff. There you go. And I tried to make a complaint regarding her husband. It was his first year teaching this psychology kind of thing, and he told me himself that the reason he was doing it to help his wife spread the word of this stuff. There's the Tramore ETB, see it there, look, I made a complaint. Obviously, I'll just read you briefly what they said, right? Pat was informed of two concerns and replied, A, following the interest from learners, he offered information on the Baha'i faith. This occurred outside the classroom, during breaks, during conversation. Now, he was paid for that time, for the lunch break. He was paid, and it was unethical for him to be speaking about religion. And to assume that people in the classroom just happened to inquire about this obscure religion that him and his wife just happened to be recruiting for is like ridiculous. And then B, he did not pass on assignments to his wife and Carrie, because I had an issue, because I felt that he was after passing on private information that I had wrote regarding myself in an effort to get the grade in the psychology course. Now, I left that psychology course with a couple of weeks to go, but it's ultimately this woman, Dr. Anne Carey, is this person that's driving all this weird psychological weird shit that's going on within Waterford. And there's been many people after getting caught in the crossfires of this, but at the end of the day, it just showed people to be corrupt. That's basically it. They're trying to hold on to the narrative that there's some kind of moral issue, and kind of like their corruption is based on kind of morality. Do you know what I mean? This is not about morality or any kind of this stuff, because you would have went to the guards if it was right a morality issue. So they're trying to condone their corruption by saying it's a moral issue. Do you know what I mean? And what you have there now is you have strength in numbers. You have all these people after forming the group because there's reputations, there's jobs, there's pensions. I have a heap of evidence to support everything I'm saying. But I'll speak about all of this. And when you hear this crazy stuff, as I said, I was in this thing, and they brought us down to Kilkenny, and they tried to lock us in the school. They said it was a day out for the kids. When we got down there, then I wanted a day out. They tried to make us stay the whole weekend down there, and they brought the kids off to make pizza. And when the kids came back, then they weren't allowed to make the pizza unless they repeatedly chanted this prayer. There's all this crazy kind of stuff. And I'll speak about this because I want to read out some kind of paperwork that really gives you insight into what this group is really like. And it's not like the HSE is promoting. So whoever wrote that for the HSE and promoted it and signed off on it is clearly biased and clearly part of this organisation. But getting back to that individual out in Tramore there yesterday. As I said, there was an issue years ago, and it was all covered up by Dr. Anne Carey to assist Waterford Tussle. When I heard about the allegations, they were 7 weeks old. So that person was left in the care of this person for 7 weeks. So they were only ever going to find that there was no kind of issue there, because they couldn't say otherwise, because they had already left the person in the care for 7 weeks. And Dr. Anne Carey and her husband, my ex, brought these two to my father's funeral. Now, I didn't speak to him at this time. As I said, I left the psychology course. I wouldn't go back. Well, even though I had a couple of weeks, and I wouldn't go back and I've forgotten them, man. I detested these people. But my ex decided to bring these two, trying to fuck with me head. She wouldn't bring the kids because the kids would have realised kind of like, what are they doing here? John doesn't speak to these people. None of my family knew who they were. But my ex's friend, she came to the funeral. And she was also a part of this Bahoy and her kids before she got sentenced and left as well. But she recognised, like, what were these people doing at the funeral? Do you know what I mean? But also at the funeral, the minor that I spoke about was at the funeral, and that person was talking to Dr. Anne Carey, and Dr. Anne Carey realised then that I knew who she was, and I was at the putting two and two together, and this where all this shit blew up at it, and that was in 2015. But I had left this Bahoy in 2014. I joined in 2013, and I left in 2014. And my ex is still in it. This is why my ex gets all the support from TUSLA and the fucking other various organisations. It's nothing but a smokescreen to put this person on a platform. And I'll speak about this person's actions because I want to talk about an interview that she done on the two Norries, and I'm going to play the interview and I'm going to stop it as I go, and I'll show documentation from her that disputes what she's saying on the podcast, and it'll show you how much of a liar and dangerous woman this person is. But that person, as I said, the issue with the minor, when they realised at the funeral, right, that I was at the putting two and two together, and I realised who Anne Carey was because she was talking with the minor, obviously this shit hit the fan. But in 2017, then the minor was approached by me ex in an effort to try and kind of poison the water, basically. And he was approached by me ex using me daughter as bait in 2017. Now that person went in amongst the LGBTQ community and spread all this kind of sex stuff. Do you know what I mean? And now he's placed himself under my nose trying to provoke me and get a reaction. So I'm just going to put this out there now. First of all, because I know you're watching, you have the intelligence to see, number one, that you are being fucking used, okay? And number two, be very careful whose toes you step on, because there's a lot of information that I will put out there regarding you and that whole household if needs be. So it's probably in your interest now to wind your neck in and mind your own business. Obviously, I'm still waiting for Chief Superintendent Petit to get back to me. I sent him multiple memos. I still want to proceed with that complaint, and I have to go up to Waterford Garda Station now, and I'll obviously have to try and make the complaint there, but I'll video myself going in and trying to make the complaint. But as it stands there now, all this sex stuff, that was spread in 2016, 2017 and 2019. But this all began in 2013, and when I left in 2014, that's where all this blew up. But they need to hold on to the narrative of that there's some kind of just cause, that kind of in an effort to condone the corruption. These people are always corrupt. Ever before this situation, these people were corrupt. They just simply got exposed for being corrupt. So now they're holding on to the fact, oh, this is why we done this is why we corrupt. Everybody in Waterford knows this situation. So they can't deny it because people are going around boasting what they done. So they can't deny the corruption. So now they have to try and condone the corruption. And that's what's going on. Whereas you have various groups in Waterford, whether it's members of Sinn Féin, whether it's tattooists, whether it's small-time drug dealers, Waterford freewheelers, all of these people, like, it's in their interest. But I don't fear any of these. I have no fear of any of these people. I'm too old to be living in fear, and it's not about me thinking I can beat everyone up or any kind of stuff or that I'm a hard man. It's about being principled, and I'm willing to stand my ground, and I'll put myself through this for as long as I live, if needs be. But that stuff that was spread in 2016, it created a snowball, basically. And they tried to put it on me, tried to hound me from A to B to C, basically. And this was spread by Dr. Anne Carey, who met in Waterford City Council in 2016. Now, they don't know I know this, because it's me first time speaking about it, but they do know that. And they set up a house and offered me a house in 2017, which I took. Now, I had another house lined up. They purposely messed me around with the house. And they gave me this house in 2017, and this is all this kind of surveillance and spying on me. This is where all this actually started. And I was only up in the house for like literally a couple of weeks, and my ex dropped the kids down for sleepover, and when she dropped the kids down, then she gave me passwords. The neighbours, these were cronies now with Sinn Féin TD David Conlan, and they spread all this kind of shite all around Waterford, and also in around Waterford freewheelers. But it was driven by Waterford City Council. And what happened then is they thought, because I left the house, they think they put a run on me out of the house. I didn't. Myself and my wife left the house. There was about 25 people one day outside the house, and they're on about kicking in our door and pulling myself and my wife out and all this kind of bullshit. So I went over and I opened the door. And they all ran. But 95% of the people, they all ran into the neighbours. They all ran in directly into next door, who I said were these kind of cronies of David Conlan that like to throw their weight around Waterford. Your usual kind of small-time drug dealers, vote for Sinn Féin, think they're in the IRA. But this was driven through Waterford City Council. So when I left that house, right, Waterford City Council assumed I was out with my mother's. So Roisin Doherty and Leo Kennedy went out and searched my mother's, except what they didn't know was my mother was lying in the bed watching them. She was sick at the time, and my mother was so small and frail at the time, do you know what I mean? She had pillows on the bed. They didn't see her in the bed. So my mother was lying in bed watching all this, do you know what I mean? And I'm supposed to let this go, do you know what I mean? And Waterford City Council is aware of this. Joe Daniels in Waterford City Council covered this up, offered to assist myself and my wife then getting rehoused because of all the issue. Up in Barry Street, as I said, this crowd wanting to kick in our door and all this. And I just want to mention that crowd that was going to kick in the door, my ex had contact with me 2 weeks before she dropped the kids down. And I'm going to say something here now, and they're going to know that somebody said something that they shouldn't have said, because I could never understand why they would spread all this kind of sick stuff when she knows she's dropping down the kids. Do you understand? Because it doesn't make sense. But apparently she asked these people next door, based on the risk of me being basically a sexual offender, because this was being pushed, that they asked them to monitor, they asked them to keep me under surveillance. So this is what was going on up in the house. And these people don't have the intelligence to say, well, hang on a minute, if he's like that, why would you be even dropping the kids down? And this happened previously in 2016, and you had a member of Waterford freewheeler, same thing, comes down driving my daughter around in the car with me ex, dropping the kids down, wearing these patches, trying to intimidate me. But he again had the intelligence to say, well, why would you be dropping the kids down if that was the case? Do you know what I mean? And that's what happened up in Barry Street. Do you know what I mean? I know this all sounds kind of crazy and kind of convoluted, but I'm going to put it all out there. But I just want to address that person out in Tramore. So as you can probably tell by what I'm after been saying, it's a very corrupt and very kind of strange situation. And unfortunately I have to deal with all this kind of sexual slander in an effort to try and get to the origins of all of this. And that's basically what they're trying to do. They're trying to create enough kind of drama between the origins of Dr. Anne Carey and myself and that whole Baha'i cult. And it is a cult. I'll explain to you like over the next couple of weeks, because I have documentation of other people who left and why they left, and how these people deceive, manipulate. They're like a very dangerous group of people. And if anybody comes across this group, like, don't be lured into this, because it's the easiest thing in the world to join this. It's the hardest thing to leave. You will never ever meet someone who left the Baha'i. Ask around, you'll meet someone who joined it. You won't meet anyone who left it, because they absolutely destroy your life. They control all PR around your life. And as I said, her husband was using the classroom to invite people up so his wife could fucking more or less try and brainwash him. I know this sounds crazy. I'll explain, because as I said, I was in it to give you step 1 books, step 2, step 3, and it's just a way to really lure you in and to try and condition you and see what way you're thinking. And unfortunately, my ex spent so much time cutting the back off her mother, she was easily lured in, and this woman became a mother figure to her, and she planted her arse day in, day out down her house in an effort to kind of keep her hooks into me ex, and which she did. And Waterford Gardaí are up to their neck in this corruption, because realistically they sat back and left all this happen. Do you know what I mean? Just like the whole stuff with the Halligan situation up in Children's Group, like, I'm not forgetting about that for one moment. That whole situation began in the late 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, the 2020s. Do you know what I mean? So don't be under any illusion that they haven't assisted what was going on up there for one fucking minute. So you have them now basically like circling my apartment. As I'm speaking of, I showed the video of these clowns following me around, and I'm going to pursue a complaint. Do you know what I mean? Just like this dope living up over me. Do you know what I mean? I've only recently found out that the links through JEC Security, a local security firm, and what are they linked in with? Waterford freewheelers. See how the same kind of groups seem to pop up over and over again. Now, I actually don't have an issue with Waterford freewheelers. I have an issue with 2 or 3 members with Waterford freewheelers. I also have an issue with this kind of Ambrose fellow who was driving my daughter and my ex around, trying to kind of intimidate me at the time. But that was in 2016. And then in 2017, Sean O'Toole spread all this shit in around the Waterford freewheelers again. And I understand that. I didn't really have an issue with that. And that's why I didn't really comment on it, being honest with you. But a couple of months ago there, he endangered me wife and my daughter. He basically missed the car by about an inch, following the track around my car, and then his brother passed Limbo too, and caused me kind of to go off the road a little bit, and I had my wife and my daughter in the car. So obviously, there's not a person out there that wouldn't defend their wife and their daughter. So that's my issue with this crowd, do you know what I mean? And unfortunately for them, I don't feel any way of fear, do you know what I mean? But you can offer your support to the whole Halligan dynasty and fucking the Gowers and Waterford City Council. Because as I said, there's a number you mixed up with Waterford City Council, let's be honest about it. So you'll get your contracts realistically. I just want to address that person out in Tramore there yesterday, because he's doing it constantly. He's constantly putting his fucking nose in around me business there. He's trying to get me basically to say something. Trying to provoke me, because the likelihood, given the kind of past situation, that they would say something, especially when he's coming over when it's around my daughter and stuff. Do you understand me? Like, I would say something. But as I said, be very careful now whose toes you step on, because I'll put information out there which is 100% true, and if I said what the information is now, or even I implied what it is, people would know what it is, and that's the only reason. Because I certainly don't owe you any favours, I can tell you that. Your actions around cutting the snot off me mother speaks volumes, okay? So you can run in amongst your LGBTQ community all you want, do you know what I mean? But as you can see, this is a very, very corrupt situation, and you have various groups in Waterford from Sinn Féin, because we all know, like, we have David Connan and his relationship with John Halligan, and their public displays of affection. These are two people never ever criticise each other on a political forum, and the reason being is because Sinn Féin, members of Sinn Féin applied pressure to a girl who was going to come forward and speak the truth about what was happening up in children's grouping, and that girl was bullied out of Waterford for over 20 years, and Ray Halligan had a hand in that. Okay, this is the same Ray Halligan who's on the TikTok video also trying to pass another threat. And Waterford Gardaí will never ever deal with the Halligan situation, because, as I said, it's gone on from the late 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. So they're basically up to their neck trying to cover up what they've already covered up. So I'm going to start addressing all this over the next kind of couple of weeks. I'm waiting for some kind of I'm waiting to get some kind of legal assistance, being honest with you. I'm waiting to get word back if I can even get legal assistance, being honest with you. Because I do intend to bring this, if I can, into a court, because the human rights abuse amongst this, like, it's insane. And even to try and take it to a court and have it struck out or whatever, like, and say there's no case, they don't even want that. But they don't want that. They don't want to acknowledge, do you know what I mean, the major mess is what happened. Because they all ran around in 2016 and spread all this kind of sex stuff. Then again in 2017 and 2019. And as I said, I was actually reporting all this. So they can't say it wasn't reported. It was reported. I was reporting it. And if anybody wants to report it in the meantime, I would appreciate it. Just report who you got off it. Do you know what I mean? That's all you have to do. So we can trace it right back to the source. And the source is me ex. And this woman then with her Hair Together program up in Dublin, that's all built on lies, the whole lot of that. That's actually my idea that she stole. It is what it is. It doesn't really bother me, if I'm being honest with you, because it just shows that my idea was actually apt and it was a good idea. But I want to address kind of like this woman's kind of persistent kind of like harassment from this person. This woman has got like kind of mentally all there, if I'm being honest with you. This is some of the most spiteful, kind of nastiest kind of stuff you will ever in your life hear. And as always, she uses the kids. She weaponizes her own kids time and time again. And I think this should be out once and for all. And unfortunately, as I said, I have to deal with all this other shite in the meantime. But I'll put it all together there now over the next kind of few weeks, and I'll start kind of talking about this stuff. But I want to talk about that whole Baha'i cult thing at the very beginning, because I need to talk about that, and I need to talk about me ex and how we ended up in this stuff in the first place. And you can make your own minds up, because at the end of the day, I could be lying. Do you know what I mean? Or I could even be embellishing the truth, but you can make your own minds up. I'll speak about it, I'll show you documentation, and you can make your own minds up. But anyone thinking of getting mixed up with this Baha'i faith, run a mile, because it's very deceiving. So I'll leave it there, and I'll be back sooner rather than later. Thanks.